Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you're doing well. Thanks for stopping on by. I am John O'Canute. I guess that's what I'm going with now. I haven't changed it. I haven't thought of anything else other to call myself. So here we are. And why did the music kill? Hang on. Are you guys hearing? That was weird. Alrighty. Well, I killed it now. I don't know why it was coming out that. I'm listening to the feed again. Anyway, whoops-a-daisy. I'm not too sure why it didn't bring that down, but it added it into another output. So we'll figure it out one of these days. Yeah, hopefully you're doing well. It has been a very busy week since we spoke last, and man, so much stuff is going on. So pretty excited about that. It's been kind of nice weather here in the Nashville area, and been able to work a little bit outside on the studio build and the garage and the playroom and all the things. And so that's been really fun to kind of see that slowly coming together. I'm also working as a subcontractor for a company doing some of their network commissioning. And so that's been exciting and fun. It's kind of itches that scratch that I have in my networking logic brain, but also has presented some opportunities to do troubleshooting and figure out maybe what's going on. So we've done a little bit of that over the past week, and I came back from Ohio last week and was here for the show. I haven't gone anywhere since then, but I've done a few remote sessions to try and solidify things and make it work well. So it's been great. Been going along just fine. A lot of coffee has been consumed, and so as you can imagine, which there is more here today from today's non-sponsor, Ember Mugs. Keep your coffee hot and your creamer curdled, as always, folks. But yeah, definitely staying busy. And oh, by the way, I still have my full-time day job, and so it's been good. It's been good to just be busy and to have things kind of ongoing, projects ongoing. And I'm waiting on a bunch of shipments, and I can talk about some of that stuff that's coming today, or not coming today, but I can talk about that today, just as like next steps on things. So yeah, let's start with the garage. So I started running more electrical for the recording space, for the office space, for the network rack, for the lights and all that stuff. So my son and I, he's 7, went out to the garage on Monday. They had Monday off of school. And so him and I went out there, and I taught him how to use the air compressor pneumatic staple gun, which he thought was a blast. Had to teach him gun safety at that moment. I realized we're going to need to talk about where you point this thing and when you put your finger on the trigger and all that stuff. So best to start him young. So we talked about using tools safely and where to point tools and why we never point them at each other and that sort of thing, especially when they're plugged in. But I bought a pneumatic one because I have an air compressor in that garage, and most of my tools, honestly, are air compressor tools now because I got this huge air compressor. It's part of the automation of the house. I can turn it on with voice commands, and totally nerdy. But man, that thing has helped me out. I have a nailer. I have a brad nailer. I have a standard nail gun, which I actually hurt myself with one day. I have a brad nailer for finishing nails. I have now a pneumatic stapler. I have what was the other thing that I bought recently? Anyway, a whole bunch of accessories. I'm blanking on them, but man, it makes life a lot easier. That's for sure. Especially that framing nailer. That thing is awesome. So, oh yeah, I have a nailer. So I have like a little palm nailer that, like, if you have new work boxes that have nails in them, for example, you can just drill them, like hammer them in real fast instead of swinging a hammer, which takes forever. This thing just does them right away. It's so fast, really efficient. But then I also have a framing nailer that let's say my dad is letting me borrow, but I don't think he ever is going to want it back. I'm happy to give it back to him. I can take it up to him when I go up there in August. But yeah, I've got basically the walls going up. Everything is, I've taken it as far as I can as of right now. The next thing that I need to do is build the wall with the door frame for the recording space. So that's kind of next on the list, and it's pretty exciting because it's kind of coming together. Now, one of the things that I ordered was some framing isolation clips, and I can show you what they are just because I feel like it's easier to explain this way. I think they're technically brackets. They're made by a company called what is it, Resilimount? No. Maybe I should just look at my order because that would probably help, right? Do I have my email open? All right. So, yeah, I ordered these braces because when you build like a room inside a room, you're going to need to brace it against something. And standard, sound isolation practice is you're going to have a studded wall that will have drywall in it, or some sort of siding on it, which mine is just, unfortunately, just board and batten. But then you put insulation in that outer wall, and then you build an inner wall that's at least 1 inch in. And I have it 1 inch from the exterior wall. There are 2 exterior walls, technically. And then 2 inches from the interior wall, which is where the garage is. So I don't want sound transfer, so I've just made it a little bit shorter on the garage side, which will give me ample space to create kind of a dead zone. And we can talk about insulation in a second, but you would have insulation on your outer walls. Okay, that's going to help with some sound transmission. Just R19. Doesn't have to be rock wool. Doesn't necessarily have to be rock wool. And again, I'll talk about that in a second. But then you build your inner walls, and you, again, put in insulation. And then on that one, you're going to put double or triple drywall. And what you'll end up doing is investing in mass, which is the primary thing that's going to stop vibrations from coming through the wall and going out of the wall. And the wall that I'm building next, which is the door wall for the recording side of the studio, I'm actually building a double wall there. So the door wall for the recording studio will have 3 layers of drywall on one side and 2 layers of drywall on the other, which means that we've got to go through almost 4 inches of drywall. The sound has to transmit between 4 inches of drywall and an air gap. Okay, so the walls aren't going to touch each other. Well, the issue that you run into is how do you build a wall that's not like all wobbly, right? So you buy what's known as sound isolation clips, which I just ordered online. They're a little pricey, but they really do the thing that you need them to do. Of course, my order doesn't show up here. Where are we here? Isolation clip. Well, I even spelled it wrong. Acoustical, not green glue. It's hardware is what I'm looking for. Here we go. So it kind of looks, these are them right here. All right, let me share this with you. Where is my, looking at the wrong window. Let me get organized here, peeps. Sorry about that. All right. So here is those sound isolation clips that I purchased. They are, as you can tell, just a straight L bracket, metal bracket with a very soft rubberized, basically screw, clip in the middle. And what you do is you mount them to a wall or the top of a beam or something like that, and then you attach them to that exterior wall. Now, I have a double wall, which means that the tops of these will need to be mounted on probably the top of the interior wall and then pushed up flush 1 inch, right? Mostly 1 inch from the exterior wall. And then I'll zip it into the exterior wall, and then we will have a sound isolated bracket clip. So it's a pretty standard method of attaching these. And I'm not 100% clear on how this bolt or screw works, but time will tell. We'll get them in the mail and we'll find out. So that'll be fun. So these isolation clips are on their way. I think they're due tomorrow or Saturday. I can't remember clearly when they are due, but they'll be here this weekend, and then I can get that interior wall of the recording studio like rock solid. I could mount it in probably along the top, easily 2 or 3 brackets along the top, and maybe one in the middle of the wall just to provide some like sturdiness. But once I put up the door wall, then we will have a fairly solid square. They're all zipped together, and there's a couple of more boards I need to attach just for drywall purposes. But we are in good shape with all of that. So it's pretty exciting that that's all kind of coming together. Okay, that's over there. Looking for this one. Here we go. Sorry, I got to get back to the live stream. Here it is. Okay. So that's all kind of coming together, which is super exciting that we're finally seeing all of that happening and making some progress, which is great. It also helps to have kind of an influx of some money so we can buy some stuff. I'm still figuring out the heating and cooling. I pretty much have a game plan for that. But that's one of the last things. It's one of the most expensive things in terms of single price that I need to purchase. But it is, kind of expensive. So I need to really be careful about when it is that I buy that. I hate to say this out loud, but I don't think I'm going to be in April. It's just the way that this is progressing isn't super quick. The electrical is almost done. I ordered wire for the HVAC system, which will sit behind the garage on the wall. So I don't have to pour concrete or do any of that stuff. I'm going to buy a wall bracket. The unit's going to sit on the wall. Actually, now that I think of it, that may not be a great idea because it might vibrate the walls, right? So maybe I do want to put it on the ground. So I might have to pour concrete to do that in the spring sometime. Yeah, that might be the best, actually, to separate it because it'll vibrate the wall. Yeah, okay, I'm not doing that. I've just decided. Haven't thought it through that much, apparently. Coffee. That's good. It's just straight up Tim Hortons today with a little bit of butter. Yeah, weird, I know. Anyway, the brackets are coming. Those will be here soon. Again, they paid more for those than I really wanted. I think they're overpriced, but they're a very specific application. The nice thing about these two is I'm going to build a floating cloud inside the studio and hang it with, finishing wire. That cloud, I'll use some of these Resila mounts to mount it to the ceiling, to the studs in the ceiling. And so I'll drill through to the studs and then hang them off of the Resila mount, and that will result in a very soundproof sound absorption cloud. So more on that later as we progress, we should say. All right. Do I have the chat open here? I thought I opened socials, but maybe I didn't launch the web UI. So let's go ahead and view it. And first and foremost, of course, Angus. How's it going, man? Morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks. Hey, I'm getting a real, we'll say, baptism into the, I'm doing a lot now with Netgear, communicating with their support team fairly regularly, and yeah, really kind of getting some strong exposure to my hands-on switches and stuff. So more on that as that progresses. But if you're ever interested in building out or having a consultation about, hey, what should I do about this AV network that I want to build? I am network, all the Netgear things, level 2 AV tech for Netgear, but also a Dante level 2. In addition to, I have a sales partnership with them. So yeah, we're in good shape here in terms of if you need somebody with all the certs, Keystone AV has all that. I have all those, and I'd be happy to help you with that. If you're in the States, I can even help you purchase equipment. So let me know if you are buying a system and you would like a little better pricing than retail. Maybe we can help you with that. So reach out to me at sales@KeystoneAVNetworks.com, and I can put a quote together for you and see what we can come up with. All right, so I'm getting those clips, and I'm pretty excited about that. And I need to see, actually, these guys sell insulation, right? So let's just take a little peek and see what sort of insulation they sell, because they have fiberglass. Yeah, this isn't the type of insulation I think I was going for. Pipe insulation. Well, anyways, we'll sort it out one of these days. I'll figure out what to do. The other thing, though, is we are starting to get all the electrical done. So I need to order some more 14.2 because I've got another 15 amp circuit that's not run. But I'm pretty much done running everything with the exception of one 14.2 circuit of 15 amps and the HVAC. And that wire, which I also ordered online from a company that I've ordered before, little shout out to wireandcableyourway.com. All right, wireandcableyourway.com. I have ordered wire here before and have had really good experiences here in the US for that. So if again you are looking for good competitive pricing on whatever wiring needs you might have, coffee, check these guys out, because you can order it by the foot, or you can order it on the spool, or in 100-foot increments, or whatever you need. But typically I'm just looking for solid 14.2 wire, so 14 gauge, 2 solid, and you can buy it individually, or you can buy 3-strand, which is what what you buy at the store, right? So where is it here? I'm missing it. It's like this stuff, UFB maybe. By the foot, by the spool, 14. Anyway, you can just punch in what you're looking for, essentially. And here it is, NMB. This one right here, 14.2, sold by the foot. And then this is 3-wire. So say, you want to buy 250 feet. They will give you a deal at 55 cents a foot. You can add it to a quote, and then you can look at your quote. Shipping is usually like $10 or something like that. But for 250 feet, $137, that's about what you pay for it on Amazon and at Home Depot here in the US right now. So it's middle of the road, but if you're going to order a lot of wire, then you might as well save on shipping and not have to go to the big box store. They'll ship it right to your front door. It only takes a few days, and then it's here. So this shipment's also coming via FedEx here in the next few days, and I can even look at that and find out exactly when it might be here. FedEx home delivery. Here is the shipping address or shipping number. That package is expected. It's currently in the mail. The package has been delivered today at 10:12. So there's a photo of it outside my house. Hopefully it's not raining, but even if it is, not a huge deal. So this ships out of New York, typically Middletown, New York. Only took a few days to get here. So that's great. It has arrived. Good times. Whoa. Hey, Angus says, I'm doing pretty. Let's switch over here to the chat real quick. Hey, I'm doing pretty well. Hope you are too. Doing a bunch of testing lately, getting some strange NDI dropouts on my BirdDog P200s. They last exactly 1 minute. I think it's a cabling issue. I'm using 150 feet shielded cables, but of relatively unknown quality. As well, back in December, I was having capture freeze issues with my Decklink 8K card. Did a ton of testing and downgrading from desktop video 15.3 to 15.2. Fixed it. Yeah, I had that issue too. I entered a ticket to Blackmagic, but they never replied. I'm looking at their support page now. The most recent version of the desktop video has a bug fix about capture freezing up. Now, about 14 hours into testing, the new version so far seems stable. Obviously, I'm not calling it 100% until we hit that 24-hour mark. Oh, and just a random surprise, I have an A2 and an A4 version of the P200. I'm watching frame drops in vMix. The A2 doesn't drop frames. It's just sitting there and working. Interesting. The A4 drops several frames a minute, regardless of cable quality and regardless of frame rate. Okay, so if you have consistent drops across the same device, we still have an ruled out network quality, network issues. I would put a pre-manufactured end jumper cable, toss that thing on top of your 4250, power it up, and let it sit there just over a 1-footer and see what happens. If you're continuing getting frame drops, you can pretty much then decisively say there's something going on with the camera itself and not necessarily with your cabling. So eliminate the network questions at all. If you have the same VLAN profile that you do for the A200, then we can rule out configuration problems because those two are running full NDI, full bandwidth. And you've tested different frame rates. And so we know flat out that the likelihood that there is some sort of networking configuration between the A2 and the A4 is unlikely, very unlikely. So just do the cable check. Be sure that you use a pre-manufactured cable for that, because you want to make sure that, you know, it's not a cable that you made or something like that, and maybe there's some slight pin issue. But if you're just using, if you're testing on your own cables and then you test on manufactured cables, even a jumper or a patch cable, that will be sufficient. So it's happening with two A4 P200s of different ages on the factory M4250 network profile, of course. So this would be the NDI5 profile, the general video audio profile that they use. Hey, yeah, good call. I'll do that later today. Just to be sure. And you can rule out that you're getting any sort of issues with cabling. I'm using all factory terminated cables. Okay. So there you go. So that's you're not even concerned about yours. So maybe it's a length problem, but we can eliminate most likelihood by just doing a small patch, set it on top of the 4250, run it, see what happens if you're getting frame drops. Now, are you visually getting frame drops, or are you getting a lot of frame drops just in vMix? Because vMix, okay, so, and here's another way that you can check too. Inside of Netgear, and maybe I can try and do this for you. Let me open and get my own Engage software here. I'm using the same cable between the A2 and the A4. The A4 drops frames while the A2 doesn't. Okay, so we're getting pretty close here. Let me show you something inside Engage, if you don't mind. Oh man, what's my password? Oh geez. Okay, hang on one second. Shoot. Nope. It's been a long time since I've had to log into my own Engage system, because once I have it up and running, it just works. Now, to be fair, I'm not pushing an AV profile like I used to back in the Bird Dog days, or when I'm out in the field doing stuff. So I will pull up my network controller here. Here we go. And I'll look for that Netgear switch. This TP-Link Omeda system is not super fast. I will say that. And I'm logging into it locally. Like, I'm logging into it via IP address, not through the web UI. So I'm not too sure what's going on there, but now Netgear will look like a client on this system, which is fine. I'm actually moments away from pulling the trigger on a couple of more Omeda switches because didn't like that. Have I not labeled this switch? Certainly I have labeled it. Reolink, NDIPC. Oh, there might be another way to figure this out. Oh, not NDI analysis. Get out of here. Command line. ipconfig. 10.1. Here we go. There it is. Okay. All right, hold please. Figured out what it is. I should probably write that down or something. Okay, so inside of Netgear, yoink. Inside of Netgear, you can, I need to do an update. You can check your network monitoring stuff. So we go over to network monitoring and a couple things. First is network stats. This is the place where you can actually see the physical errors hitting the switch, but also packet drops. So this is a good indication that you're having an issue between vMix and the NDI device, okay, on your network. And maybe it's vMix not getting all of the packets, or maybe it's vMix re-requesting all of the packets or whatever. But if you, in this column, if you see a whole bunch of dropped packets, all right, on one of your ports, that's a clear indication that it's the device. It's not necessarily the BirdDog device, that it could be network related, it could be vMix related. The other thing about vMix packet on full NDI sources, okay, is that you're actually not going to get all packets, and vMix is going to report it. Now, if you're running HX, you'll get very little, very little, but it depends on the A4 and the, so the A2 units are obviously older boards. It's a motherboard indicator, to be honest with you, but it was a specific configuration. So if you send in an A2 P200 to get repaired, you're going to get an A2 board. You're not going to get an A4. They're different boards. Same product, process is the same. It's not, one is not better than the other. But the board is technically different in between the A2 and the A4. Again, identical products. You're not compromising quality. So the next thing I would check, if you do the cable check and you just do a short little run, the next thing I would check is here on Netgear Engage or on the switch itself. But in Engage, you go to network monitoring and you pull up the network stats and then look down this list. In particular, you can look for the port that you're running that camera on, okay? And then it will tell you if you're dropping packets on the network. If you're not, then you are, then the network thinks, if you're getting all zeros, then the network thinks it is successfully passing all of the data. Okay, that's a very useful thing to know, because if the network thinks I am successfully sending every packet I am being given, okay, that means that there's no issues with the network. The network is not having any problems. The issues that you're having is vMix is saying the NDI device is sending me incomplete packets, or I have to re-request things in order for it to look right. So this is a good indicator of where the problem might lie. So drop packets, that's a good place to that's like step number 2 is check here. And if you're getting a whole bunch, then you know the network is recognizing that the packets are not making it across the wire and we're having to re-request. One thing you might also consider doing here on this screen is reset all counters, because this will run kind of indefinitely. So up at the top, let me take this off for a second. So right here at the top, it says reset all counters. So you can click that button and it'll say, are you sure? We can reset everything to 0. And then when we hit refresh, we can see anything that hits the physical errors or the drop packets. Drop packets is really what you're looking for. That's really what you're concerned about. is that drop packet. If we refresh again, yes, are you sure you want to refresh this page? Yes. Okay, I'm still not getting any errors across now. I'm not really pushing anything either, by the way. So there you go. My Jet KVM, which is on my Jet KVM for my Mac Mini, is over the Netgear device, and I believe that's in port 4. So this guy right here is my KVM, and there's a couple of physical errors there. Matter of fact, this is interesting because I am actually having problems with my Jet KVM staying connected all the time. So I may have just it may have just dawned on me when you asked this question and I went down this route that perhaps this is a good indication of something that's happening that's wrong. One item might be, by the way, is that on this switch, let's go ahead and go into configuration. Why? There's another way to do this. Yeah. This is weird. It's as if it's trying to. All right, let's do like that. What is going on? Okay, well, there's another way to get to it. If you ever run into that little error, you can say here, configure, and it will take you to the same screen. All right, so now we're going to go to network ports. I know it's in port 4, port configuration. I know it's in port 4, but I'm assuming, oh, auto negotiation is disabled. All right, so I've already done that. Something that I've noticed with Netgear is if you do have a 10100 unit, and a lot of Dante stuff is, you should change the negotiation to whatever the restriction is on the unit. So if you have a 10100 unit, which is what these Jet KVMs are, I believe, then you need to disable it. Now, if I just enable and hit apply, does it do it? All right, so now port 4 is rebooting. We'll wait for it to come up. And Bob's your uncle overview. There, she's back. She's negotiating at 100 again. Port configuration. Number 4, enabled. And what are we operating at? We are auto, but then this port says 100. Full 100. So, okay, whatevs. So that didn't really change anything, but here we go. Watching outside of vMix, the frame drops really aren't noticeable. Yeah, so, okay, here's something about vMix is, and full NDI that I noticed when I was at BirdDog was, visually you're not dropping any frames, but vMix is counting every frame, like every frame. And if something doesn't make it, like if NDI skips a frame, but visually it's not changing the quality of the video, vMix still counts it. And so most of the time, you'd hate to say it, but it's like I used to say this, but I'm not sure everybody really liked this, but I used to say, I actually don't know how vMix is watching the frame drops. Because visually and according to Netgear, I'm not dropping frames, but vMix continually reports, hey, we're dropping frames on this source. And like we might have been, but because there's so much data coming across, it may not be drops that you really need to be concerned about. It would be great if vMix reported 0, but I would check the network for frame drops, okay, before I would trust vMix. No, trust vMix. Okay, I shouldn't say that. Trust vMix. They are good dudes. Their product is excellent. I'm using it right now. Great product. I just don't know how the frame drop things works with full bandwidth NDI. HX seems to be very consistent, but that seems to be their wheelhouse with it when it comes to NDI. Full bandwidth, they do it. They also output full bandwidth, but I just don't know how the counter works, because it seems to me like it's counting things that are not actually frame drops, but I could be wrong. Ooh, new Engage version. Oh, this looks helpful. Good. So physical errors could be bad cabling. Could be. I'm using a pre-manufactured cable with my Jet KVM. Let's go back to that network monitoring, network stats, and then physical errors. I'm up to 12. Let's see if it changes as we are talking here, because I just made that change to 10-100 to now to auto negotiate. So maybe that will help, but we shall see. Yay, group troubleshooting. What's going on, Bugsy? Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Angus sends his greetings as well. Well, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the day. I tried enabling Silicon 2 HX mode on the P200 that was freezing up, and then both streams froze. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I'm sure you're good friends with my former team over at Bird Dog Support. Hopefully they would be able to get back to you and respond. I saw somebody online the other day say, oh, I sent an update to, or I sent a question to Bird Dog Support. They never got back to me. And then they were like, well, they say they'll get back to you in 48 hours. So how long has it been? They're like, well, I put it in this afternoon. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Like, they're not over there twiddling their thumbs. They're trying to get back to everybody that's ever put in tickets that are currently open. So you got to give them some grace. It's a small team. If I refresh this, yeah, still at 12. We haven't changed since we made the switch, since I've started watching it again. So that's good. Maybe that was it. Hey, there's an update here available for. There's a new version of Engage. Okay. Current version is 2318. Next version is 24119, yeah, which is a version I've used. So we'll go ahead and download. Hopefully that doesn't disrupt my. It's going to restart this. Cancel. Cancel. I don't want to do the update yet because I'm running NDI over Engage. So I'll do that after. But I do know that version. It is stable from what I can tell. So if you're looking to update, then I have used it, and it seems to be of sound creation. Here's something that I really appreciate about Netgear support is I've put little nuggets into support and said, hey, would it be possible for this in a future update at some point? And they say, we'll add it to the board, which is what BirdDog used to do or does. I don't know. I haven't looked into BirdDog recently, but that's what they would. What we would do is we would tell the devs. We'd say, look, at the very least, I will tell the development team that this is a desired feature, and that's really all you can ask, from a customer to a manufacturer is. We'll let them know. We'll let them know and see if it's something that can be done. That's pretty great if your company will at least do that. And Netgear does that all the time. One of my recent gripes about Engage is the adoption process. Mostly because if you're not using VLAN 1 default for your management default VLAN, everything is a crazy jumble. So I did ask them, hey, would it be possible to have like a different discovery method for switches so that when they come on, regardless, the Engage software will see them and then, go from, adopt it and then push the profile and then you can use the management VLAN. So they're like, we'll let them know. We'll see what they can come up with. So that's cool. Like, thank you. That makes me feel heard. I like that. Hey, I just got my pass for work for Infocom. And now making one for my personal company. So I have free codes for it to pass out. Right on. Good for you. I need to look. When is Infocom? June? Again, I'm not too sure that I could get that budgeted and approved. But one of these days, we definitely need to. Oh, it's in Las Vegas this year. Oh. Well, I could always ask. I would love to go to Infocom. Maybe I should just try and go on my own, stay for a day or two, and then come back. But, yeah, that's pretty cool. Alrighty. So, the build is underway, and the garage build, office build, the next thing is solidifying the walls for the recording studio, making sure they're sound isolated. Then I got to get the wiring completed in the recording studio, and I need to get. It is in Vegas permanently. Oh, They left Orlando? I thought they did it 1 year in Orlando and 1 year in Vegas. That's very interesting. If it's in June, that's 2 months later. Anyway, Turtle AV will be there. See, that's the thing is I really want to see Turtle, and I keep asking them, hey, are you coming to NAV? And they're like, no, Infocom's our jam right now. And I understand why. Man. Hey, I can help you order Turtle AV stuff as well from if you're interested in ordering that stuff. I can get you a quote and try and do better than retail. So if you're interested at all here in the United States, let me know. That's one of the brands that I can help with. But if you're just a church or somebody looking to purchase stuff, give me a shot. Let me see if I can get a good price for you. We'll go from there. Yep, it just changed. Interesting. Okay, so the build. So this is the thing that I'm talking about today for some reason. But I have ordered things. Next thing is insulation for the exterior walls, and to get the office portion insulated, because that needs to happen pretty much ASAP. So the exterior walls need to be insulated. I need to run one more 14.2 line, which will go underneath the windows on the exterior wall. And then once that, and those are honestly secondary plugs. Oh, and the other thing is low voltage. So I'm running, here's a great question that maybe you guys have some ideas, or maybe you've seen it done in good ways. So my office is going to be double layer drywall, which is just an attempt to deaden some of the sound from outside. It's not an attempt to make it dead quiet. It's an attempt to just try and keep it relatively quiet. And so we're going to do insulation, double drywall on the insides, 5/8, so it'll be 1 1/4 inches. And then I'm running low voltage. And the question is, do I run, I think in my brain I've already answered this, but do I run just dual gang boxes to all of my external ports and label them? And then, you just plug your switch, basically, or your patch panel into that patch on the wall, and that lights up all the ports, including the ones that'll be upstairs, and including, the Wi-Fi and the cameras and all of that. So I think I have 8 ports that need to go from... I'm going to have 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, maybe 10 or 12. 10 or 12 Ethernet drops around the office that will not be in my network rack. Okay, so I'm going to have a network rack. I'm going to have switches. They will plug directly into these wall ports. And then I'm also going to have things like fiber optics that will bring the single mode fiber, which will bring the network from the house to the office. And then I'm going to have, which will be 10 gigabit SFP plus single mode. And then I'll have HDMI connections for a couple of TVs, which will be mounted on the walls. And here's a hey, I just sent you, hey, and thank you, Bugzeek. And if anybody wants an Infocom invitation, reach out or put something in the chat here, or reach out to Bugzeek on LinkedIn, and maybe he can help you out with that. Hey, run double of whatever you think you might need. Okay, so here's the thing: is actually what I think I need is in the rack. That's where all my networking stuff is going to be. The place where I'm running extra is going to be into the recording studio. And I have decided, I already said this once today, and then I changed my mind. I have decided that I'm going to do 2 network and 2 Dante per box, and I'm doing 2 boxes in the recording studio in opposite ends, meaning that I'm going to have 4 network jacks in each corner. And then inside, for the Dante network, we're going to be running Turtle AV, I think, 4x4 or 8x8s as my plugins for instruments, guitars, microphones, whatever. Because the 4x4 Manola 4x4s we'll do we'll do phantom power, 48 volts, so we can power microphones. They'll all be on Dante, and that is kind of the way that recording studios are going. We're doing away with XLR plugins, and we're doing everything via Dante. So pretty excited about that. I can supply phantom power. It's all PoE, so even, my switches will be able to send PoE to those Turtle units. Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. The only thing is power, physical power. I don't really want to do any like in the wall jacks. I want to do surface mount stuff. But the question still remains, how do I get those wires through the wall and keeping the sound rating as high as possible? I think what I have to do is drill a hole, run my cables into a surface mounted box, and then run the cables through and then seal the hole with acoustical stuff, and then on the back do acoustical pads to basically reseal the hole. I think that's how I have to do it in order for it to retain its audio rating. I don't know. And go with shielded Ethernet cable. That way you can pass phantom power if you ever decide to use analog audio over Cat6. Then you can pass phantom power. Yeah, so everything Dante, right? I think Dante is kind of the answer. Well, then that's much fancier than my suggestion. All the power stuff will happen inside the recording studio in just a small network rack, which people will be able to plug into right there with their instrument. And it's a 9x9 room, with the exception of like the 2 1/4 or 2 inches of drywall on all walls. It's basically an 8.5 foot square room, 8.5 by 8.5 feet. So that should be plenty of room, even for like a small drum kit or whatever, which I don't foresee ever happening, but maybe. Who knows? But yeah, that should be sufficient. The other thing is I've got to cut a hole in the drywall anyways to run the HVAC, the heat exchange stuff. So, it's not like I'm not going to have any penetrations through these walls, but I'd like to minimize it as best I can. So, and there are ways to do that where you basically insulate the ventilation that's coming through, and that's a whole other side project that will need to be done. I haven't even put my brain to that yet, but soon. Anyway, so onward and upward, we continue to make strides towards getting that room, usable, which is pretty exciting. In my brain, I'm like, I got to do that, but before I do that, I got to do this, and before I do that, I got to do this, and I probably should do this then before I do that. So it's the same thing, right? Where I'm like, I should buy insulation, start putting it up, and then I'm like, oh wait, I got to do all the wiring before I do that. Oh, I got to do the low voltage before I do that. Oh, I need to think through how many, So in the office, around the office, there's going to be 2 other spots on the opposite wall for Ethernet jacks. But there's going to be Wi-Fi in that office. And quite frankly, I don't really know why I would need to plug into the Ethernet jacks, because the network rack will be exposed and in the room. And so if I ever needed Ethernet on the couch, I could easily just plug in my cable there or plug it in here. So it's purely a nicety is what it is. It's not even like it's not a requirement. I don't foresee moving it's going to be a specific home for the network rack. The thing that I'm going to put up a couple of TVs and run those, one of them as a second monitor for my Mac, or maybe both of them running, I don't know. And then one running as a multi-viewer for camera for inside the recording studio. I think I'm going to maybe get a third TV eventually and put it in the recording studio and send back our video so that we can all see each other. So instead of installing a big piece of glass, you basically buy $500 in TVs, cheap TVs, and put them up on the walls and then just send it, a video signal. Again, though, Ethernet, so NDI or something. I'm pretty decided on getting a couple of Marshall cameras, and then those will be NDI. So then we could, if Play Pro is a thing, or I can get an NDI decoder for HX, via Raspberry Pi or something like that, then we just run a simple Ethernet cable. The other thing about all of this is, I could put a network switch inside the recording studio. I would want it to be quiet, but easily just put an Omeda or even just a standard Netgear switch that's, so if I need more networking in there, I could have more networking. I don't necessarily need to run a whole bunch of Ethernet, but it would be nice to have some surface mounted on the walls where then you just easily plug in. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Surface mounted, sealed up real well. And just nice and tidy. So I'm thinking through that process a little bit, but there's also something I'm really good at, which is overthinking and not doing. So eventually you got to just pull the trigger and decide, all right, here's my trade-off. And everything is a compromise. If I want this in the studio, it's a compromise, right? So yeah, there's lots of things to think through, but then there's lots of things to overthink. So hey, Bugsy, I got that invitation. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, very cool. My coworker and I also have been planning the next steps for our installation at the soundstage and what that's going to look like. And one of my suggestions has been a production room. So we are going to have to work with the homeowner to decide if that's even possible. I think I talked about this a little bit last time, but we're trying to move that ball down the road because we need to do something like that. Oh, and the implementations of KVMs, so we can centralize all of the computers and just run IP KVMs in that production suite, which is pretty standard. Well, if you look at the NAB website, Adder Technologies, which is a standardized KVM IP solution, is going to be there. So you bet your bottom that I will be at the Adder stand at some point in April, checking them out, and basically we're going to make a decision. If the product line impresses us enough, we're going to go with it. But I've seen IP-based KVM systems, G&D and a few others, pretty stable, have a few issues. It's all multicast, right? Because you're doing one-to-many usually. So the Netgear switches will be relied on to pass that data efficiently. But we have open ports enough to do that. And I would love to take all of our computers and centralize them into a network rack and then just put receivers out with TV monitors and mice and keyboard and clean up everything. So that includes our Decklink Duo boxes. They would go in a network rack. Our studio, our Mac Studio, which runs ProPresenter, our media operations, that would go in a rack. We're going to replace the laptop that we have right now as our redundancy backup with a Mac Mini, more than likely, also in the network rack. And everything just gets transmitters. And then the receivers, our workstations, would then just have a receiver, a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. So way simpler, potentially putting a Netgear 4250 or 4350, probably a 4250 in the 4250? Maybe a 4350. I don't know. We'll have to see what we can afford. Putting something in there that has a decent backbone that can run 500, 600 megs for KVM, per KVM. Put that in the rack and then just connect those receivers to that unit. Then when you want to expand, right, you want to create more workstations or you have additional departments or whatever, then you just put a receiver down there and you don't have to buy another machine. You just put a receiver and now they can operate from down there. That would greatly increase our flexibility from a technical stance. So more on that as that develops. But I'm actually pretty excited about that project because I think that's like one yet. Is that Netgear? Glent has some really good KVMs. Oh, interesting. I had a conversation with a guy that used to have a one-to-one system and then he went to a IP KVM system. And that's honestly where I want to go because I think that's where it's going. But IP KVM basically then gives you the luxury of deploying KVMs worldwide for that system, whether you use a VPN or you use some other cloud-based networking. But yeah, there is a good chance that the IP-based KVMs are kind of, you can do multiple campuses that way, and in particular houses of worship, multiple campuses that then all talk to the same system, and then you have a headroom or a tech room or a machine room that basically has all of your computers. They're all KVM'd, and then you just make those available across your fleet. And that is a very cool workflow process. Yeah, as a very cool workflow. So really interested in discovering more of that, and I hope to hear more about that as we get to NAB this year with Adder. So here we go. We'll see how that works. Okay, what else did I buy that you might remotely be interested in? Okay, well, we talked about the isolation clips. We talked about the wiring for the HVAC system. I haven't purchased the HVAC, but I've purchased the wiring because I want to run it and then start doing insulation on the walls, and I don't want to have to worry about running wire after that, right? So there you go. One moment, please. Hey, I think Starlink, I think you broke something. I think I may have. What's going on here? What did I break? Okay, audio's working there. Check. Hey, vMix. Yep. Okay, that's working. One moment, please. It says that I'm sending audio. Yoink. It lagged a few minutes ago. Okay, so I can hear myself inside of Studio again. Let me make sure that I'm still coming through. All right. Check. Is my audio showing up? One moment. Okay. Yes, that is. Okay, it's working now. Is that right? Sorry, everybody. I'm not too sure what happened there. I think Starlink flopped a bit ago. It lagged a few minutes. Weird. All right, well, let me know if I'm back. I think I'm back. Anyways, so what else are we doing here? What else did I buy? Well, okay, so you're fine. It just froze up good. Okay. Interesting. That's very strange. Yes, more than likely Starlink crossing over, or did Engage update? I wonder. Maybe Engage. No, it still says that I'm. You know how I hit update and then I canceled it? I wondered maybe if it finally downloaded and then reboot, but usually the switch will go into high gear when it does that. Alrighty. Back to the inbox. Okay, so one of the things that I changed over at the house was I upgraded the Raspberry Pi that runs the automation in the house with Homebridge to a 4 gig, 8 gig, something huge. A pretty big Raspberry Pi 4B with PoE, and it is faster. It's more responsive than it was on the previous. I believe it was a Raspberry Pi 3. So I put it on a 4B. I put a PoE unit, a PoE hat on it, which is really cool because now I just plug it into the switch that's downstairs and it fires up right away. And it'll come back on with power when the power goes out. So if I supply power to the switch in that little miniature headroom that I have here at the house, that will turn back on its own. So I really like it. However, that is overkill for that unit, because if I go to orders and I say Pi, yoink, I ordered this on Amazon, which was kind of a mistake. But anyways, okay, it's an 8 gig version, so it's overkill. Originally, I bought it so that I could run a Minecraft server for my kids here at the house, and that's what they recommend running it on is a Raspberry Pi Model 4 or Raspberry Pi 4 Model B 8 gig. Actually 4 gigs is what's currently recommended. I was like, well, I'll go with 8. And then I bought a PoE hat for it just so it would work on its own. I thinking that when the power goes out, it'll reboot the Minecraft server and be up and running as soon as the power comes back on. So that's, and in particular, when my generator comes on. So I can go outside, plug in my whole house generator, flip the switch for the internet, and up would come the Minecraft server, and the kids could keep playing. So that was the idea. Anyways, the Minecraft server thing didn't work right away, and I found out that it was a big jumble mess. So I decided I'm going to pause on the Minecraft server, and I'm going to just I'm going to trade the board for the home automation onto this one. And I pulled the SD card, put it in this one, plugged it in, came up, and it was like screaming fast. If I look at the stats on Homebridge, it's barely scraping the surface in terms of using any of the available memory. So I think it's using half a gig. So there's 7.5 gigs remaining of unusable of the data that hasn't been used. So, and the CPU is running at like hyper cool 43 degrees Celsius, 7% load. Not necessary at all. So I ordered a second one, which is only a 2 gig version. And that one I think is going to be here Saturday. I ordered it through pi.us. Is that right? Pi.us? No, that's not it. Let's see if I can Google it real quick. But it was basically just a pishop.us. Is that what it is? Yeah, pishop.us. And their shipping's okay. They have basically every single Raspberry Pi board that you could ever want, all the way back to zeros. So, if you're in the US, I purchased one that's a 2 gig Raspberry Pi 4 Model B 2 gig with another PoE hat to run the house automation. And then this other one I'll switch back to using as a Minecraft server, but I gotta have an afternoon to basically burn to do that. But I'm pretty excited about that. I think that'll be good. And I bought a cool little enclosure for it. I actually bought this enclosure for both. Let me throw this up here. For both the one that I have and the next one. It comes with this little fan, but it's deep enough to handle the PoE hat. So that's why I bought this one particularly, because it's an aluminum case. It's all metal, and it, except for the top, that's like a plexiglass. It has a fan that mounts to the top, and you just put that on the 2 pins that basically are power on the board, on the PoE hat actually, and then that little fan runs. And so when I open the network cabinet downstairs, I can hear that thing going because it is plugged into power. So that little fan runs all the time. The PoE hat's in there. It's keeping it nice and cool, and that's a good little case, and it's less than $20. So I thought, all right, why not? So up and running, easy to replace this fan if I ever need to. They're a dime a dozen on Amazon. So that little box is going to be handy. And I think what I'm going to try and do is eventually get a board where I can mount this stuff, or get a shelf and install a 2U unit, put the shelf on the bottom, put the switch up on top, and then have it nice and organized in that space. So that'll be next. So Raspberry Pi's on its way. Wiring for the HVAC system's on its way, or it'd been delivered actually, so I could do that today or tomorrow. I have a bunch of networking stuff that's coming, single mode patch cables with SFP mods. That's more so for Keystone. I'm doing some initial network setup here at the house, and so I've got a bunch of tools that are coming for that, labels and whatever, so that'll be great. I need to get a barcode scanner. I am about to order, you may have noticed, I am about to order a couple of, these will be layer 2 switches in this organization, but a couple of these guys these are SFP plus cages, and this will be the backbone between the house and the garage. So one of these will go in my network rack, and one of these will go downstairs in the headroom. It's just a network closet slash towel closet that we use. This is what I would mount on that 2U rack. I'd mount it on the bottom of a shelf, put this unit in on top, put the shelf in on bottom, and then just connect all my things to that, including maybe I should do a 3U unit, because the shelf will need to hold the router for Starlink and will need to hold the router for the house, so the layer 3 router for the house. So put all these things up in there, make it all nice and tidy, put the Raspberry Pi in there behind it, clean all that up. My wife will be thrilled that it doesn't look like a dump once this is all done. So I'm going to order a couple of these guys as the backbone between, and then they'll also report then inside the TP-Link Ometa software. They'll report as a switch on the network and be able to show topographically where it is in the system. So kind of happy about that as well, because I want managed switches. Always buy managed, guys. I want managed switches across the house so that I know where and what everything is plugged into, and you can also turn on and off ports. So there's that as well. I've ordered from their Canadian store several times. Excellent. So that's probably the Pi Shop. Well done. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And if it arrives and works great, I'm going to buy my pies from there from now on, because buying them on Amazon is kind of a crapshoot. I would rather a straightforward process where I can order a handful. What I really need is a 1 or 2U rack mountable Pi holder. And, maybe that's something I look into. Let me see if you can 3D print those things, right? But, and I've got these little cases, so it's kind of annoying to buy that stuff. Let's see here. 1U Pi. Uh-oh. Am I having internet problems again? Oh. Am I having internet issues? Oh, geez. Sorry, guys. It appears that... Okay. Now we're back up. Oh, my goodness. So there are 1U rack units that would work for this sort of thing. Looking like they are somewhere between $50 and $30, $50, something like that. Let's go ahead and just take a little peek. I kind of like this modular look that just basically shows, you line them up here. It's compatible with 5s, 3s, 4s, just not 0s, which I have a bunch of those too. But I do have 3 Pi units that could go into a rack like this. That would be really kind of a cool, clean way to do it. Basically wasted $40 on cases, but whatever. I could always return the case that if I don't. I might do that. I might return the one case that I have, especially because I do have 3 Pis that could go into a holder like this at this point. And then, is there a place to label? Yeah, you could totally put a label on top of these. So, that's a great idea. The other one is this one. That's just basically a frame, and they sit in there. How do you secure them? Compatible with hats, 4 Pis, 3, 4s, and 5s. Is it? Yeah, it's a 1U. It's a nice clean idea though. I do like these the ones that you screw in though. That seems kind of cool. Let's take a look at their photos real quick. So it comes with these guys. Oh, and an SSD. What? Front removable bracket supports. Wait, what's with the SSD slot? Oh, that's cool. Oh, and you can get a little ribbon that plugs into the SD card slot there and then makes it available at the front. Oh, that's a slick idea. Yeah, I like that. Why what's with the SSD? Is that something you can plug in like USB to SSD so that you can attach a hard drive to it? It's an interesting idea. What is with this dude's hand? This looks like a child's hand. Not childproof is what that says. All right. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. Might be a good... Oh, I ordered also about network rack stuff. I did order rack studs because I suspect that I will be putting units in this network rack, one after another. I've got a project coming up where there's more than almost a dozen switches coming, and so yeah, I'm going to need a quick way to mount them and take them down. So rack studs is the way that we're going to do that, and that should be fun. I'm also considering moving all of my music stuff, so microphones, preamps, that stuff, to a Gator case which sits on top of my rack, and opening up the entire rack space for these incoming projects. So I don't know. I'll think about it. Probably going to end up just with a full rack at one point, like with a glass door, big tall one, because I'm running out of room and I basically have enough stuff for a full rack at this point. So yeah, we continue to accumulate more and more things. Anyways, he says, "Oh, those are the best." I'm assuming the rack-mounted pie holders. I'm very interested. I may just add that to my cart. In addition to, let's see, 3U desk mount. Okay, yeah. So it doesn't need to be fancy, and it doesn't need to be heavy duty. It needs to be $20. So something like this, and then I could just buy a shelf that could go. So add to cart, and then what did I say? 2U shelf for the network rack. 42U one. Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to go big. At this point, might as well. I'm going to figure out a way to fill it up. So, the rack screws. Yeah, the rack screws are great. I had a little brain scratch there when they first arrived. I was like, how do these go in here? And then I realized I'm an idiot. And so I figured it out. They work great. That's all I use for everything now. Oh, right on. That's good to know. I agree. They are great. So, yeah, get a little... Why do these shelves have to be $50? I don't understand that. This one, though, is $30. I don't mind that. And it has a little back stopper so things won't fall off the back. I like that. Oh, that's a huge one. All right. Boom. Cool. Cuckoo. All right. So I've got a handful of things in the basket now. Those network switches are the things that are... I was thinking maybe I just need one of those network switches and I'll put it downstairs. And then I realized when I get to where I'm going out in the garage, that switch will be in this rack. So I might as well buy it and put it in the rack. So if I have the money, I'm going to do it now. So there we go. Alrighty. What are we at here? 11:15. How on earth? Let's close these items down. What else? So my son and I were working out in the garage on Monday, and I bought some ventilation, like I forget what the actual name of them are. Basically, you staple them to the roof between the joists, and that will, when you put insulation in, that will allow the air to go up to the ridge cap. So we put those in. He got to learn how to use a pneumatic staple gun. I think I said that. And then so that project got done. And then we ran wire, and we used all my 14.2 to run 2 circuits back to the office. So the first circuit being lights and the few plugs there, 15 amps that are there, kind of in where the kitchen area will eventually be. And then another circuit that goes all the way to the recording studio. It's its own circuit there'll be 2 sets of surface mounted plugs there. So yeah, it runs all the way there. I'm a little tempted to mount a junction box on the wall in the garage and then terminate both of those boxes individually into that junction box, because I don't want to run one wire into the room and then another one out to the surface box, but I can't do any of this until the drywall goes up, right? So I'm just trying to think through, like, all right, where do I run how do I run the electrical, and then how do I get it ready so that when the drywall goes up, we're ready to put those surface mounted boxes on right away. So, because then we can have power in that room almost immediately. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a junction box in the garage side for those plugs, and then, I'll have access to both of those plugs connections right there. So thinking that through, I've pretty much made a decision on those wall surface mounted boxes for electrical and for low voltage. So that's all done. That's all decided. I'm going to move forward now with a plan. So, the other thing I need to buy is a disconnect for the HVAC system that I'll put on the outside. So you run your 10-2 with ground to the HVAC, basically a non-fused AC disconnect. You run it from the box to there, and then you terminate it inside there. And then when you install your HVAC stuff, you just got to do a little connection to that outside box and you're done. So I'm going to buy that and install that on the outside wall and be ready for HVAC when it arrives. So, and have the power ready to go. So all I got to do is flip the breaker and the HVAC should kick on. So that is the plan there, and I will add that to the shopping cart right now to get that underway. Anything else? I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I definitely am thinking through the project in a, like, we're moving now. We're starting to get some stuff done here. So cables, Pie Shop, Home Depot. Oh yeah, I bought lighting. So I have 8-inch fixtures, both for the playroom, I think. The playroom and the office. The office is not immensely huge. It is 14 feet by 9 feet, essentially. So I have 2 lights that are going to go in. They are essentially surface mount boxes, honestly. But they will have a light box fixture. Those could be wired up now, pretty much. And then I would have light in that space. But they're just surface mounted LED lights. They're dimmable, and you can pick what white light you want. So in this room, I have very warm, like 2600 Kelvin lighting. Probably go with 3000 in the office space, just because it's more of a work light, but I can still color correct for my camera when I move out there. So those will go in soon, in addition to low voltage boxes, the fiber optic boxes, and the HDMI. Those will be in 2 boxes on the wall behind the network rack area-ish, and then those will run to the TVs. Those will run to the drops on the opposite side of the office. Those will run to cameras that are running outside. Those will run to an outdoor Wi-Fi access point that will cover Wi-Fi into the office, and potentially one in the garage as well. But all of that will be done. So I bought the Cat 6 cable. It's here and ready to be run to those boxes. So that's kind of the next thing as well. I'm getting kind of excited about getting some stuff done. My approach on all of this has been just chip away at it. So just do a couple of things every day, and as the days roll on, things get done. So that was what I did with my son, as we did the upstairs piece. The electrical's all done up in that space, and so now it's a matter of cutting some boards, which I have, put those on, get some insulation, get the drywall on, do the flooring, and that space is pretty much done. So I say all that very quickly. It will take me weeks to do, but it's coming along as well. So there's lots to kind of get excited about. I think that's it. I think that's all that I've been doing. I'm trying to take on a little bit of extra side work, and things are coming along. So pretty excited about where I'm at. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of backing boards up where the TVs are going to go. And then when it comes time to mount those, there'll be lots of wood up there between the joists to handle the weight of the TV. So you can still shoot for the joists. Oh, and something else, if you're ever building from studs, like what I'm doing now, something I learned is on your unfinished concrete floor or whatever you're using, get some white spray paint and cut out a little thing that kind of just looks like a strip of a 2x4 out of cardboard, and then spray paint your floor where your joists are, right? Because your carpeting is one of the last things that go in. So if you spray paint where your joists are, and you could also put like an X or something where your electrical plugs are, then when your drywall goes up, you know where all your studs are. Or while you're putting your drywall up, you know where all your studs are. So I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. Why wouldn't I do that? So I'm going to get some white spray paint, and I'm going to paint the floor where all of the studs are, especially inside the recording room and all the office space, just to make life easy, just to know where it all is. So you just have to look. So there's an idea. That one's free, everybody. That one's free. Alrighty. So that is that. And yeah, good stuff. I've seen one physical error so far on the most questionable cable. Hey, I really appreciate your help, John. Well, thank you. I'm glad you found today beneficial, as always. And feel free, if I'm not online, to reach out on LinkedIn or whatever you need. I'm happy to help. That's great. I'm glad you're getting to the bottom of it. And hopefully I can give you some useful tools. All right, kids. I've got to get Sunday together. I'm halfway there. So, and then I'm gonna go outside and maybe try and. It's starting to like get really nice in Tennessee. It's 60 degrees today, 65 degrees. And it's going up to 70 on Saturday and sunny. So, heck yeah, let's go. I'm all about that. And I think it's going to be a great few days. So I'm excited about that. More on, as things progress, I will update. Sorry I didn't put in like an upcoming show thing this week because I just didn't get around to doing it, to be honest with you. So I should have, and I didn't. So that's my bad. I'll try and do that for future weeks. But, yeah, things are going well. I am going to get on with it. And feel free to reach out to me, LinkedIn. Thanks again, Bugzeek, for sending over that invitation. I'll take a look at that here after the show. But I hope you guys have a great end of the week. We're almost there. It's almost Friday. We're looking forward to that. And it will be a busy rest of the week, but it's going to be great. So I hope that I hope life is treating you well. Let me know if I can lighten the burden at all. All right, take it easy, guys. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and we will see you all in the next one, hopefully next week. Bye, guys.